again for joining us. Now, Michelle, it's great to be back here for week number 2. And I got to ask you about that. You have your own theme song. Where does that come from?
Oh, Somewhere Girl.
Yeah, you're the Somewhere Girl, I understand.
Yes, my husband wrote that and for me, and it's a little jingle. Somewhere Girl, I'm just kind of like real estate. I like a lot of things. I like a lot of different foods. I like visiting and love a lot of different places, and I kind of here and there and everywhere. So I like a lot of things. Yes.
So you're the Somewhere Girl.
I'm the Somewhere Girl.
Not everybody has their own theme song. You got that going for you.
Now, that's my version of the meaning of the song. Now I'm going to have to ask Richard what his meaning was when he wrote it.
Gotcha. So you're saying your husband could have a whole different reason for writing it for you.
That's right. I'm going to have to ask him.
Maybe we'll have to get him as a guest one week, and he can explain all the origins of the song as we kick off the show.
For sure. Sir Richard Lionheart. We'll be here.
Excellent. All right. Well, we should probably talk about real estate, because that's why you're here. This is the Real Estate Show, right? Okay, Michelle, with 1L, one thing I want to ask you right off the get-go is when people are selling a house, I'm sure they have lots of questions. What are the top 3 questions they come to you with?
Top 3 questions. How much can I sell for? Very important. What do I need to prepare my house for sale? So they want some tips. And how long will it take to sell?
Okay, well, let's go with question 1. When people are selling their house, how do you go about figuring out what the value of the home is?
Well, it would be an evaluation. So when I go in and do an evaluation, it's really important for sellers to understand and know that they do need an objective view for the value of their home, because they're so attached to their property. I mean, emotional investment in it is very hard, because you could be narrow-minded and you need to step out. You need that independent advice. So the realtor's job is to make sure you're getting the highest price possible in the least amount of time, so your home isn't sitting on the market for 6 months and then you're chasing the market if it's a down market. So it's really important to get that and trust that advice and match it with statistics and with neighborhood stats and do adjustments as an adjuster would or an appraiser would. So that's what the realtor does, is they take your home and makes all the adjustments for it, the location, the style, the design, what it offers, what buyers are looking for at that time. All that has to do, if it has a third-car garage, all those type of value added.
Now, I've seen sometimes on TV, on HGTV, because my wife watches a ton of that, trust me. She's all about house hunters and, the reno shows and all that stuff. I see sometimes they'll say, well, we can start low and hope we get a bidding kind of war going on, or we can start high and come down. Now, how do you decide which of those strategies to go with?
Actually, that old saying, that's what's the definition of being mean? There's an old saying. And it's telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And realtors are your advisors, and we're here as your friend. And so my job to get you the highest price possible, I am advising you, and I'm making sure you know and that we can get you the price you need in the time you need to sell it, while being conscious of the current market and the future market, what we may be going into. So that's really important.
So it can be a bit of I guess, just the situation dictates your strategy then.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's move on to number 2. What do people have to do to prepare to sell their house? Oh,
and I was going to say too, a lot of people, a lot of listings out there. Okay, they're vendor priced. Mm-hmm. And when we're going into a changing market, which we actually we came in from a seller's market to a balanced market in the summer. Now it's fall. It's mid-September, and fall market is the second best market to go into. So it's just starting to get good again and strong. But the vendor-priced ones sometimes tend to sit there, and those are the ones where maybe they didn't listen to the advice of the realtor, and so they listed at a higher price. But the scary thing about that is chasing the market, as I mentioned before, and then you're losing out. You're losing more than you would have if you would have priced it correctly at the first time.
Okay, so that's what kind of goes into figuring out where your price point starts at. Gotcha. Okay, so now when we're preparing to sell that house, what do we got to do? We know we got to clean the house and stuff like that, but there's probably a lot more to it than just vacuuming the carpets.
Oh, tips on preparing your home for sale. So, again, you're selling to the buyer, so what are the buyers looking for? So the first thing they're looking for is, of course, street appeal. So pick up the wind-blown garbage and tidy up the grass and the bushes. That makes a huge difference. Put some fresh flowers. It could be movie magic, fake flowers. Put some color out there.
Rake the leaves if you haven't for the last 5 years.
I would advise so. Or hire a neighbor to do it. The kids in the neighborhood, they'd love $20.
Exactly.
And the second thing buyers look for is cleanliness. So when they open that door, bright, cheery, meaning all the lights on, but working, light bulbs that are all working. So cleanliness, and that if something's broken and you see that it's broken, fix it, and all those little details. It's about the details. But cleanliness is the second most important thing to prepare your home for sale. So if that's hiring a cleaner, and my listings, if they need it, I'll hire a cleaner and get them in there. That's really important. Wash the walls and the switches and plates and things like that. And the third thing that they're looking for the most is they have to see through the furniture and the items and all the stuff that we collect in our lives. And sometimes we're blinded to it. So, for instance, you walk into a room and there's a whole shelf full of unicorns. Well, all the buyer's going to see is the unicorn.
That's right. They can be distracted by it. That was a whole lot of unicorns in that place. Remember the unicorn house? Yeah, I can see how that would happen, yeah.
Exactly, and all they think about when they leave is unicorns. You want them to talk about the house that they're going to live in, and you want them to think of the house that they're going to live in. So really decluttering, minimizing things, removing a lot of personal items so that the buyer can see themselves living there. And it truly is really hard for buyers to see past all that. Paint colors, so that's important too. And paint is one of the least expensive things you can do to completely freshen up and make your home look brand new. It could just be one wall. I have for instance, in the really crazy busy market we had in 2016 early, I had a house in Surrey. Wonderful home. Location was great in a cul-de-sac. It had RV parking on the side, and he wanted to sell his house, and he wanted to sell it fast, and he just wanted to list it right away. I had suggested as I walked through that it was all updated from the 90s, the kitchen, the living room. There was renovations and updates, but the paint color on the walls when you entered was this like royal blue color, and then there was walls that were green color. So I mentioned, we should paint this and then put it on the market. It'll make a big difference. And he said he just wanted to get it listed. And it's a hot market. Things are going for well over asking price, and they're selling in 1 to 3 days. Mm-hmm. So we go, let's just put it on the market then. So we put it on the market. Every single feedback, every single showing said the same thing. Michelle, it's dated. Everyone kept on saying that. And I asked, what's dated about it? And they just kept on saying, it's just dated. And I said, well, the kitchen's renovated. It's not dated. And I remember, it's the paint. It's probably the paint holding them back from realizing and seeing everything. So we did. We painted it. And literally, the day after we painted it, the first showing sold. And that's after 2 weeks of everyone saying it's dated when it wasn't. It was just the paint. You're
talking about, making sure people can see through the furniture. Is that why I know me and my wife have gone to a few open houses as of late? I noticed there's a real trend to stage homes, to bring people in to stage them.
Actually, yes. And I have a stager, Julie, and I use her for all my listings. So she's amazing. So I definitely, it is well worth it. And every one of my listings has the stager. And it helps you so much. Again, having that independent advice. They can help you out so much, and it makes a big difference for the photos and everything. Well,
I'm not a very smart man. You've probably learned that. But I've noticed that the big part of the staging is there's a lot of decluttering. There's a lot of the personal touches taken out. So I know taking the family pictures down even is important, because all of a sudden you're seeing somebody else's house versus what could be your house, right?
Exactly.
So if you can declutter it and depersonalize it, but still make it look good, show off the bones of the house. Mm-hmm. And I know, I went to one recently, and it was beautifully decorated, very minimally decorated, but beautiful. And all you've concentrated on was the new floors, the beautiful new kitchen. I can't tell you what one piece of furniture in the place.
And it's that emotional attachment you want the buyer to feel when they walk in that door. So I suggest maybe even going to see a brand new show home for new construction and see how that home makes you feel. And it's just the minimalization and the cleanliness and the way furniture is moved around. It doesn't have to be all brand new furniture. It just has to be placed right.
But that old beat up chair that you love so much has got all the rips. Maybe take that out.
Or cover it up.
Now, the third question is how long is it going to take to sell? And that probably is a bit of a hard question, because it depends on the time of year and how hot the neighborhood is and things like that. I'm sure there's a lot of things that go into that.
Yes, so timing is everything. So it is your realtor's job to advise you on how long it may take to sell so you're prepared. So that question, when it arises, what type of property is it? Is it a detached townhouse, farm, acreage, executive home? What type of property it is will determine how long the average days on market it will be. So there are stats to prove what that is. So like detached homes right now in Abbotsford, for instance, a couple weeks. So in Mission, it's a little longer. And so it really depends on what it is and at the time of the market that you're in.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break here, but before we go on a break, I think we need to remind people about your website address because they're going to want to check out the homes you have listed. So what was that again?
You don't
need a www.
Oh
we talked about that. We both do it.
I'm so old school.
I know. We keep doing it. We don't need it.
MichelleCummins.ca. And actually, I've got all the stats that I automatically can send if anybody wants the stats per month on days on market and average prices. You just go on my website and you can email me from there. And
Perfect. Okay, so Michelle Cummins, 1L, no G.ca.
That's right.
All right. And, of course, if you have any questions for Michelle, you can fire them my way. My email address is curtis.pope@rci.rogers.com. I know that's a long email address, but we make it nice and easy for you. You can find it on our website. Fire any questions my way. We'll be back with more of the Cummins Group Real Estate Show with Michelle Cummins right after this.
Hi, it's Chris Coburn from Valley Mornings with Chris and Jess. I'm the media writer for the Canadian Cancer Society Cops for Cancer Tour de Valley, proudly sponsored by Coast Capital Savings. We're a team of dedicated police officers and emergency responders, raising money for the fight against pediatric cancer. But it's more than that. It's an incredibly isolating experience going through this journey. And along with much needed money, we also make sure these kids and their families know we've got their back. Can you help? Visit copsforcancerbc.ca.
Attention Abbotsford residents. Did you know that every Planet Fitness membership comes with free fitness training? Don't pay extra for training at other gyms. Come to Planet Fitness Abbotsford and get free fitness training with a trainer with your Planet Fitness membership, as well as tons of the latest cardio and strength equipment, all in a judgment-free zone for $10 per month. So, head to the Planet Fitness at 2369 McCallum Road and start your fitness journey today. Annual membership fee applies. See club for details.
Voting in the referendum?
Huh? What referendum?
This fall, vote in the BC referendum on the voting system for provincial elections.
That referendum.
Oh, sounds pretty important.
Make sure your voter information is up to date so you get your voting package in the mail in October.
Are you up to date?
How do I do that?
Visit elections.bc.ca/OVR to register to vote or update your info today.
Oh, never mind.
This has been a message from Elections BC.
Meet the Michelle Cummins Real Estate Group. Here's Michelle Cummins.
Hi. The most important thing when choosing a real estate professional is to find someone you can trust and relate to. I have a history of success and integrity in real estate. Real estate maximized. I'm here to unlock your real estate potential. If you're selling or buying homes in Mission, Langley, Abbotsford, and other local areas, you can count on me to always work with your interest in mind.
Call the experts at Michelle Cummins Real Estate Group. Visit michellecummins.ca.
Celebrate Sapphire Month at TSC. Join us all month for exclusive offers in sapphire jewelry. Don't miss out on 9 easy pay payments on select sapphires. Shop tsc.ca.
Segment 2 here of the Cummins Group Real Estate Show with Michelle Cummins. I'm Curtis Pope, and you were actually going to give out some stats there, but we had to go to commercial break. You have some stats from August for sales. What do you got?
Yes, August is the stats that are out right now. So current stats are in Langley for a detached residential house is $1 million. That is actually down 4.3% from last year. And just from July to August, it went down a whole 3.6%. So that's a lot just in 1 month. Townhouses in Langley are at $575,000, and that's up from a year ago, 3.8%. But from July to August, it actually went down in August 4.1%. So that's pretty big. Apartments are at $420,000, and that's up a whopping 27.2% from last year. And actually, in August, it went up 6.6% of that. And in Abbotsford, it's actually $800,000 right now for your average detached home, and that's up 1.9% from last year, and down from July to August 5.9%. Townhouses in Abbotsford are $480,000, and that's 7.4% up from last year. And actually, apartments are about $308,000, and that's up a whopping 25.9% from last year. But from July to August, apartments went down in Abbotsford 4.7%. In Mission, detached homes are at $645,000, and that's up 1.8% from last year. And from July to August, a whole 11% drop in detached homes. In Mission, townhouses are at $513,000. Actually, that's quite large. We have some new constructions that are selling in new townhouses. So the average townhouse price, $513,000 in Mission. That's up 49.3% from last year. Oh, wow. And actually 16.3% just from July to August. And apartments in Mission are at $333,000, up a whole 45.1% from last year. So overall, we're in the third highest market that we've ever been in this area, in Fraser Valley. So the third highest year.
Wow. Yeah. All right, well, we were talking about questions that sellers have in the first segment of the show, but now I want to ask you about the top 3 questions that buyers come to you with. So what would a buyer come to you and say, this, and this? What are the 3 questions?
The most questions I get from buyers, or the top 3, are, will I be able to find what I want? They're very concerned about that. And what can I afford? That's a huge question, obviously. And the third, I would say, it kind of varies. It depends. Sometimes if a buyer doesn't have to sell their home, they're wondering about capital gains tax or how that looks, or could they rent out their house? There's also things like, what if I have to bridge finance if I'm owning 2 homes at the same time? So there's some questions in what kind of incentives are there. There's first-time home buyers incentives. There's different incentives. Actually, there's incentives for 55 plus as well for mortgages or to save your property taxes. So we'll have shows actually devoted to segments like that. So Perfect. There's a lot to do with that.
Okay, let's start with question 1. I come to you and I'm like, will I be able to find a house? What do you tell people?
I say, I'm your service provider. I will find you what you want, is what I tell them first. But no, they are truly concerned right now, especially because we just came from a 3-year hike in the market where everything was selling so fast. So many buyers put in so many offers and lost out, and it's emotionally draining. So they have been really concerned. But we've gone into a balanced market in the summer, and we're at a balanced market right now. So this is a really good time. That means the negotiations for both buyers and sellers. So I comfort them right now because fall is the second highest and best market, meaning there's more properties available on the market. More listings are just hitting, if you've noticed, since the first week of September, more listings have been hitting the market. So there's more to choose from. But the important thing for buyers is to know if you have a place to sell, you want to list it first. You want that because you want the negotiating power as the seller to get the highest price possible. You put it, once you get an accepted offer on it, subject to you finding a property. And then you're in control. You just sold your place for the highest dollar. Now you're in control of finding a place. And you can have that subject in there for a month and a half. You can extend it if the buyer's willing. I have, for instance, or an example, just a couple years ago, I had a couple with a condo in Abbotsford, and we got a great offer right off the bat, accepted subject to them finding a place. We had a month and a half for them to find a place. Couldn't find a place. Everything kept on selling. We extended it for another month. We extended it another month after that. So it's been 3.5 months now. Finally, the buyer was just like, you know what, I can't hold on anymore. So that deal died, and we sold it that weekend to somebody else with multiple offers. Again, subject to them finding a place. We did end up finding them a place a couple months later, and it was all good. But that way, they always got top dollar. They were always in control. So today, in a balanced market, that's still the same way of doing it. If you need to sell before you buy, be in control, because the worst thing is finding a perfect place. You found it. Now you have to put subject to you selling, and that just doesn't work in a balanced market or in a seller's market. Sellers don't want to accept those type of offers, and if they do, you as a buyer is going to be paying top dollar because they are going to want a lot more because it's holding up their property on the market. So the wisest way of selling for the highest dollar and buying at the lowest, best negotiating for you as a buyer, is going in prepared.
So if somebody comes to you and they say, I want a house on Eagle Mountain, and there's nothing really for sale. Do you start using your connections? Do you start knocking on doors? What do you do?
Yes. So not all realtors are made out of the same cloth, but it is our job to find you a home if you're relying on us to do that. So yes, if there's not a home available, I just put beautiful family into a townhouse where they were like, Michelle, we only like this townhouse complex. I went door knocking a few times and I found the place. It wasn't listed. It all worked out. They were thinking about selling and called their agent, and they got us in there as soon as they listed it on the MLS. It was perfect. Oh, and they're so happy. So yes, I go door knocking. I use my network and my connections, and it, usually I've been able to find a home for every buyer of mine.
Very cool. Now, if I go to question 2. What can I afford? How do we figure that out? I guess that's a pretty complicated question.
That is, and it's a very important question to answer right away. So the number one thing I always advise as a buyer to do is get pre-approved. And that means you know what you can afford, your realtor knows what you can afford, and there's no guessing. And you're not wasting your time and your energy and your emotions looking at places that you might not be able to afford. So you first want to call a mortgage broker because they have their hands in like hundreds of cookie jars. They've got lots of relationships with different banks. So I would advise to ask a mortgage broker for a pre-approval and let everyone know you're shopping around. I say ask your bank that you bank with, see what they have to offer you, and then maybe a credit union, your local credit union of the area that you're buying into, because they want to support the community, and sometimes they have good incentives. So definitely get that pre-approval. It also protects you against interest rate hikes. So you get a hold of 90 days, sometimes 190 days. It depends on the bank and how long they'll hold it for you. But in a changing interest rate, you want to be careful. So the Bank of Canada just met September 5th, actually, and there was no change in the interest rate. But if there was, and I had warned a few of my buyers that weren't pre-approved at that time, please get pre-approved right away before September 5th, just in case, right? So it's very important to do that.
All right.
You can save thousands.
And that's what you want. You want to save as much money as possible because there is, there's closing costs. There's all these kind of things that you might not know about, and you're going to want as much money handy as possible.
It's true. And actually, I should mention the rates right now.
Sure.
Right now, it depends if it's insured by CMHC or not, but high ratio 5-year fixed is around 3.44%, and conventional 5-year fixed is at 3.79%. And variables range from prime less 0.25% to prime less 1%, depending on the insurability.
All right. Now, number 3 on the question list was, well, there were several in there, you said, so there's kind of a tie for 3. But I guess one that would probably be in a lot of people's minds, if they're selling a house or they decide they want to rent it or they sell it, or there's probably a lot of questions around having 2 properties, even if it's for a short time. So what do you advise people about that?
Depending on what it is, again, it's product dependent, because is it a good rental? What type of rental would it be good for? Or maybe the best use of the property is something like a subdivision or a redevelopment, or, there's so many options to have. So again, getting the advice of your realtor and financial advisor and your accountant is very important. Did you work out of the home? Do you owe GST on part of the sale if you were to sell it? So maybe you do want to rent it out rather than selling it. Or, it's dependent. But an example of also what is the third highest question is what to expect during the process. I find that's a big one. So buyers that haven't bought in a long time, or they're first-time home buyers, they don't know what to expect. And because the laws and rules are always ever changing, they don't know. So filling in their expectations of what to be aware of. So that would be closing costs, but also the process. So
the whole escrow thing is so weird to me.
Oh, yeah. And it's different depending on your province. The different down payments you need is different depending on the province or country. It's all different. So It is important to know what it is in the community and the area that you're living in. So for this area, it's, the obvious ones is, of course, get pre-approved first, but then you get to tell your realtor what you're pre-approved for and what your needs and your wants are, which is then your realtor gets to go shopping for you, which we love, and then we find a place, we get an accepted offer that we've negotiated, and now you've got subjects as a buyer, and the average is about 7 to 10 days, and those subjects on average are subject to financing, because even though you're pre-approved, your bank is going to want to approve the property they're lending the money on. So they'll probably send out an appraiser. So you got to have that finance subject in there. And again, the inspection. Inspection is very important. And we'll have a show and we'll bring in an inspector. And there's so many things to know about that.
A lot of questions for the inspector.
Yes. So we'll do that. And that's second important. Then you've got a subject to the title search. You want to know what's on that title and what you're actually purchasing. And then the subject to the property disclosure statement. So you know everything that the seller knows about the property. So the disclosures. And then also subject to insurance, because a lot of people don't know insurance rules have changed, and some insurance rates can be really high, and that may blow the budget. So you need to know what your insurance budget looks like for that property. So those 5. Yeah.
All right. Well, that pretty much brings us to a close here. We just have to go through the open houses. But for people that, again, want to find out more about you, where do they got to go?
MichelleCummins.ca.
And all the details there, you'll help them out, even get an estimate on their house.
Yes, and as mentioned, I'm happy to send out stats every month when they come out, so you know what's happening in your community, in your area. And as well, if you want to be on a market watch for your neighborhood, so you're keeping an eye out on for sales and solds in your neighborhood, just go onto my website and email me there.
All right, and this week, here are your open houses. 6944-208A in Langley. This is a stylish 2,100 square foot non-strata row home priced at $760,000. Open house is today from 2 to 4 p.m. Also, 35414 McKinley Drive in East Abbotsford near great schools with a legal 2-bedroom suite, just reduced to $939,000. Open house today from 12 to 2 and tomorrow from 1 to 3. And 35512 Angus Crescent in East Abbotsford. This house was built for entertaining. It's beautiful. Just reduced to $929,000. Open house tomorrow from 1 to 3 p.m. Now, here's some new listings to keep an eye out for. 32686 Badger Ave in Mission is $979,900. Stunning 4,500 square foot 7-bedroom home with a fantastic floor plan, workshop, RV parking, and a brand new suite. 9591 Brenda Street in Mission is $1,175,000. Updated 3,630 square foot home, vaulted cedar ceilings, 4.1 subdividable acres. 32776 Hood Ave in Mission is $779,999. Quality 2,640 square foot home with hardwood floors, copper ceilings, and a 2-bedroom suite. And 36264 Hartley Road in Mission, $1,499,000. Custom 2,400 square foot rancher on 1.5 acres. Waterfront property with an in-ground saltwater pool. And 7808 Edmonds and Burnaby is $3,300,000. It's a development opportunity, freestanding building on 6,600 square foot of lot, potential land assembly. And 12435 Johnson Street, it's reduced to $1,999,000. 12 acres, subdividable estate with 2 detached shops, private pond with a sandy beach, and an amazing 4,200 square foot home. For more details, visit MichelleCummins.ca.